And so the most likely explanation for this is that Robert Saleh wanted to get rid of, or at least make a significant change in their offensive coaching and offensive play calling. And Aaron Rodgers was told that by the owner, and we see what happened yesterday. In no way am I contradicting or challenging the reporting that we have done. It's possible that some combination of all those things happened.
All right, now let's keep it a buck. Aaron Rodgers looked like a shell of himself on Sunday. But after we saw this, the writing was probably on the wall. But what are the people saying about this? This guy right here says, yes, Robert Saleh was not up scratch as an NFL head coach, and his firing was imminent. But to give him no notice, not allow him to speak to the playing group, and then worst of all, to have him escorted out of the building by security is truly horrendous. And we see this more and more nowadays. They treat you like Jeff off the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They simply just throw you out of the building. This guy right here says, what's mind-boggling to me is to just fire Robert Saleh, a defensive-minded coach who only had 6 games with Aaron Rodgers and who turned that defense into a top 10 defense in the NFL instead of Nathan Hackett, who only has a job because of Aaron Rodgers. And we're going to talk about that as well a little bit later. That offense is horrible. But anyways, let's continue. Robert Saleh getting fired from the Jets is a blessing. He's going to get a defense coordinator job in 2 seconds. Yes, I hope so. And I hope he goes to the Indianapolis Colts because that's my team. And our defense is it's bad right now. This guy right here says, so Saleh defense plays consistently well and loses games where they hold opponents to 10 points because the 41-year-old one-legged conspiracy theorist who only wants to play with his drinking buddies can barely string 2 decent quarters together. The head coach has to walk on eggshells not to upset a washed-up diva, has been, and upkeep a buffoon, unqualified OC on his staff because Aaron likes to throw darts with him. But the fact that the team can't win because Rodgers' offense literally isn't even better than Zach Wilson's, which is true, is supposed to be Saleh's fault. Yeah. Okay, that guy was spitting. But I think we should check out one more comment, one more tweet, and that is from this guy right here who says, since the 2021 season, Robert Saleh's first in New York, the Jets defense is first in points per drive, first in EPA. And for y'all that don't know what EPA is, just know that it is an advanced stat that will take way too long for me to explain. Just know it means expected points average. But long story short, it kind of measures how well a team performs in relative to the expectations on that team in certain situations. They were also third in success rate, despite playing the 4th most snaps over that stretch. Saleh never solved the QB problem, but man, he delivered on defense. Which is true. Robert Saleh is not the greatest head coach of all time. That's not what we're trying to say here, but at the same time, he wasn't the worst either. The Jets had one of the best defenses in the league while he was there, but now, since the Jets are 2-3, there must be somebody to blame. Well, let's see. It's not the 40-year-old quarterback who is coming off of an Achilles injury who gaslit a few people into thinking that he would come back the same year when it happened. A guy who threw 3 interceptions in this last game, and when I say bad interceptions, they were bad interceptions. Nope, not his fault. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the guy who is running that horrible offense with little to no movement. The Jets ranked 24th in motion and 31st in play action usage in the league. The run game is bad, the scheming is bad, but you know what? It's not his fault either. Maybe, just maybe, it's the GM's fault who has failed at fixing this offensive line. The offensive line has not been playing well, so the running game is not working. Nothing is going according to plan. Nope, it's not his fault either. It is the fault of the defensive-minded head coach who actually coached the defense into being one of the best defenses in the league. Yes, that's the guy who they're going to place this blame on. We're not saying that he was perfect, but this team's problem is not defense. It's the offense. And it looks like this team is going to waste away the years of having such a good defense because they are catering to Aaron Rodgers in hopes of getting that 2021 season from him. But when you're 40 years old coming off of an Achilles tear, it's not crazy to say that Aaron Rodgers is now the 2022 version of Aaron Rodgers. Not that MVP guy that we saw in that year of 2021. It's almost like the Deshaun Watson situation, except Watson jumped off a cliff and Aaron Rodgers is rolling down the hill. Both are falling. The only difference is one of those guys will make it to the bottom first. The odd thing is, though, I think that Aaron Rodgers still has some game left, but due to his own arrogance and the fact that he feels like he doesn't have to put in the work anymore, that has gotten in the way of his production, along with the fact that he refuses to change and adapt to the times. That Nathan Hackett offense isn't working anymore. It's too predictable. But that's what Aaron Rodgers wants. So the Jets are going to continue to run it. But unless he turns back the hands of time and become that Aaron Rodgers that we saw in 2021, it's not going to get any better for the Jets, because this is the 2022 version of Aaron Rodgers, who finished that season with 3,695 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, which is good now. It's solid. Now, his deficiencies to be hidden. He cannot move. He's not that mobile like he once was coming off of that injury, which is all acceptable, understandable when you have a guy who's 40. But when you're 40, you got to start using your mind, switch some things up, make the defense guess a little bit. If they know exactly what you're going to do, it's not going to work out good for you. This is also the same guy who failed to clinch a playoff spot on his home field against the Lions that same year in 2022. A guy who also has not had a 300-yard passing game since December 12, 2021. But before that time, he was good for at least 3 or 4 of these games per year. Now, this season is not yet over, and Aaron Rodgers probably is going to go for 300 at some point in time this year. But if he does not, that's even more indication that the Jets should think about going in a different direction sooner rather than later. And yes, it's okay to regress. That's not what I'm saying. But Aaron Rodgers' biggest problem is that he is not adapting to the times. He almost reminds me of Bill Belichick, but in a player format. And Bill Belichick, low key, is getting better on TV. I don't know if you guys are watching it. At first, I was looking. He was a little cringe on TV, but I don't know what it is. Like that old uncle is coming out of him some way, somehow. But anyways, what I'm saying is he still has time, but it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. This is the second time that he has been in a situation where he has had horrible rapport with his wide receivers. The same wideouts that are doing well with Jordan Love and the Packers are the same guys he did not put in extra time for, and it seems like missing that mandatory minicamp was a bigger issue than first let on. But since he's a 4-time MVP and a Super Bowl champion, it was okay. But I'm going to tell you like this. If I was a Jets fan, I have one question for you. What does that have to do with me? He has not done nothing for the Jets. And if I'm a fan of the Jets, that's the only thing that matters. I don't care what you did for the Packers. This is the Jets. Do something for me and my team. But anyways, getting back to Robert Saleh. This is what the owner said about his firing. I wanted to give the team the most opportunity to win this season. I feel that we have to go in a different direction, and that's what I did today. This change, the change we made today, that I made today, I believe will bring new energy and positivity that will lead to more wins starting now. So from what I gather from that statement, maybe Robert Saleh was not the guy to enable this team in terms of getting the guys motivated, hyped up, and ready to play. But I'm going to tell you like this, it's hard when you got an offense coordinator who you probably did not want, more than likely calling plays that you know will not work, more than likely. So at the end of the day, I'm not making all the excuses for Robert Saleh. He's not perfect, but the man did exactly what you wanted him to do. In terms of being a defensive-minded head coach, he did exactly that. But that's why they made the defense coordinator the interim head coach, in hopes to keep that defense in line. Do I think this will work initially? Maybe, but not really. I don't think it will work because it will not fix what is truly wrong with this team. They lost to a healthier 49ers team, the Broncos, and the Vikings, and are sitting at 2-3. Only game you can look at and say, well, the defense did not show up was against the 49ers, but the 49ers were pretty good then, and I still think they are a solid team. They just have some health issues and different things going on, but I think they will regroup. The defense gave up 32 against the 49ers, but they only gave up 10 against the Broncos in a nasty game. The Jets only scored 9 points in that game, and against the Vikings, Aaron Rodgers basically threw the game away with 3 picks. So Robert Saleh only gets 5 true games with Aaron Rodgers before he's gone. But you allow Aaron Rodgers to run a offense that looks outdated, that's on management for giving him too much say-so and allowing him to be above the team that he hasn't done anything for. Does he still have the ability to throw dimes? Yes, but I feel like he doesn't put in the work like he once did. On top of that, the biggest issue with this team is the running game, which has been horrible lately. According to this article, the Jets have the worst running game in football through 5 games. They have 402 rushing yards as a team, a number that ranks dead last in the NFL. Their 3.6 yards per carry is 3rd worst among all 32 teams, and the underlying numbers are even more troubling. The Jets are actually facing very few stat boxes in 2024. Their 14.2% stat box rate ranks 28th in the NFL, whether that's because the teams are respecting their passing game more or because they know they don't need to load the box to stop the run. The results are the same, which I think is that second thing. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they have the third worst run blocking offense according to Pro Football Focus. And this is the last thing I'm going to read about this situation because it's even more proof that Hackett needs to be gone, but he will not be gone. Why? Because he is Aaron Rodgers' guy. So if the offense is bad, just know it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. Part of the issue is also the design of the offense. The Jets are the only team in the NFL not to have an explosive play out of play action this season. They rank near the bottom of the league in pre-snap motion. They run an archaic offense, one that looks out of place in today's NFL. And even before I did the research and looked back at all the stats, I can see it by just looking. This Jets offense hasn't been good, isn't going to get any better because it did not take long for people in the NFL to look at it, dissect it, and say, this is what they're going to do. This is what they want to do. We stop this. We win the ball game. Easy as that. Oddly enough, they still have a little bit of hope because of that division. The Bills have looked good in the beginning of the season, but they have not looked so good later on. I still got them to win a division, but at the same time, if they continue to struggle like they have been lately, it's going to be tough. The Patriots are rebuilding, and Miami is holding on to a backup quarterback right now because of the injury to Tua Tagovailoa, so I don't know how that situation is going to play out either. So could they get back in the mix? Sure. The team is filled with talent across the board. They have the pieces. They have what it takes. But at the end of the day, is this offense going to get any better? I don't know. Will the defense take a step back since Robert Saleh is not there anymore? Maybe, but I don't know. Too many question marks, but they did not go after the immediate thing that I think would have helped. Get rid of Nathan Hackett and see if Aaron Rodgers would adjust. If he doesn't, I mean, it just shows you that maybe he's just not as good right now as you would have hoped. I'm not convinced yet that they will be back to where they want to be in the NFL. Although I believe in Rodgers' ability, I think he will eventually get in his own way.